Where you are, I am too. Gladiator 2, Electric Rome is still fucked years after the events of the first film, events that seemingly were wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow. You had Russell Crowe that seemingly brought peace to the city of Rome. Rome had a dream, and it must be realized. These were the wishes of Marcus Aurelius Boogaloo. No, I don't actually think that would fit on a marquee. I don't think that any theater has enough letters, even if they have a goddamn Rolodex, a goddamn, cornucopia of letters. I don't think they'd be able to fit that on the goddamn marquee. But yes, Gladiator 2, the sequel to, wait for it, it's going to blow your mind. Gladiator, a really, really terrific film. Russell Crowe absolutely deserved every bit of praise that he got. And you had Joaquin Phoenix, you had Connie Nielsen, you had so many great performances. And honestly, I love the first Gladiator, warts and all. I watched the original director's cut. I mean, I'd seen the film countless times before, but decided recently to watch the director's cut just to see what Ridley Scott's vision would be. So yeah, then suddenly they decided, hey, we're just going to do a sequel to this. He'd been trying to do it for a while, and considering how the first one ended, which if you have not seen the first Gladiator, you're going to be lost as to why any of this stuff and any of the callbacks means anything. So if you haven't seen the first Gladiator, you need to pause this and you need to go watch it. And now 3 hours later, see, didn't I tell you that it was pretty goddamn good? Look, it basically is just Spartacus told in a different way, but in, any other Roman or Greek mythology, whatever. It's any of the swords and, sandals and all that stuff. Steve Reeves and the Vandellos. The whole point is Gladiator 2 had a big, big hype campaign. And Ridley Scott once again brings us back to the city of Rome. It's still in complete and utter chaos. Good job realizing the dream, that Maximus Decimus Meridius decided to basically fight for and die for. Good job, Rome. You really fucked that up. So yeah, Ridley Scott. If you're unfamiliar with Ridley Scott, well, then you basically have been living under a rock, or living under the rock. If you have been living under the rock, don't tell his goddamn wife. So Ridley Scott has done films like Legend, that had Tim Curry as a devil, Blade Runner, Alien, Thelma and Louise, G.I. Jane. Who the fuck remembers G.I. Jane? It was certainly an interesting movie. He also did the aforementioned Gladiator. He did Hannibal, Kingdom of Heaven. He did American Gangster. Denzel Washington is in this, and also they reunited, and that's great. American Gangster was great. Robin Hood, a version of Robin Hood that nobody really asked for. Prometheus, Exodus, Gods and Kings, as well as Alien Mike Covenant. And we see that, a couple people, one person wrote the screenplay and one person did the story. The story was done by Peter Craig, who did Top Gun Maverick and The Batman. Okay, I'm down. So, this is written by David, don't call me Joe Scarpa. That is a deep, 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 deep cut for wrestling fans. He did Napoleon and the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. Oh joy, oh bliss. So yes, the first Gladiator. All that stuff happened. Connie Nielsen is the only actress to return. Not the only character, but the only actress to return. And Connie Nielsen, I hope she knows that I love her. My God, what a gorgeous woman. What a talented woman. She still looks oh so good. And there were just points where it's like, I need to profess my love for Connie Nielsen. That being said, she returns. She plays Lucilla, who is the daughter of, in the first one, the slain emperor, Marcus Aurelius. And basically, Lucilla is bound and determined to try to finally bring peace to Rome, because apparently they fucked it up the first time, so let's do it with other characters. So, meanwhile, her son Lucius, Paul Mescal, who was in All of Us Strangers, that's a terrific movie, by the way, you need to check that out. He is living in an outpost and has friends and must defend against an invading, Roman army, led by Marcus Aurelius. Why didn't you just... I'm sorry, but just some of these names are stupid. It's like we're trying to branch off from the first one, and we just decide to be more like the first one. Pedro Pascal, The Last of Us, and The Unbearable Weight of Acid Talent, and he leads a charge, and something happens that necessitates Lucius coming out for revenge. And then from there, we basically, we get, actually, I do lie, there are a couple other returning characters in this movie, but the main character is Lucilla. And anytime Connie Nielsen is on screen, great. Also, Denzel Washington plays Macarinus A. Macarinus. Hi. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. But Denzel Washington, he invents so much stuff. He chews the scenery, devours it, just gnaws at it like a goddamn beaver, or like, damn Kevin Dunn in a production truck. And yeah, there you go. We basically get a film that is a sequel in theory to Gladiator. And if you have seen Gladiator, congratulations, you have seen the vastly superior version of this particular franchise. Actually, I don't know if we can call 2 movies a franchise, but yeah. I'm not going to lie to you here, guys. Before I get into the rest of the plot and get into stuff, I wanted to like this. I really wanted to like this. This was the Regal Mystery movie. That's why I was able to review it now instead of reviewing it this coming Thursday. And look, I really, really, really wanted to like this. And the more I think about it, the more pissed off I get. Because there's nothing wrong with trying to honor the original and trying to have, characters carry on the legacy. Like, Lucius carrying on the legacy of Maximus. There's nothing wrong with that. And Paul Mescal is a terrific actor. A fucking amazing actor. All of Us Strangers, once again, really good stuff. But there are some monumentally terrible characters here. Maybe it's the idea that Rome gave into stupidity and, had a lack of reason and elected really bad leaders. Geez, almost like certain things have been happening like that recently. But there are 2 emperors, and played by 2 pretty terrific actors. They're 2 brothers. It's Geta and Caracalla. Caracalla or whatever. I don't care. Caracalla just sounds funnier. Sounds like a knockoff European cereal. Joseph Quinn plays Geta, who is in A Quiet Place Day 1, and Fred Heisner plays Count Chocula, and he was in Thelma. And also you have Derek Jacobi, who returns. And there's a brief character, Aris Hatch, just a weird name, played by Yuval Gonin. My goodness me, what gorgeous eyes she has. Good Lord. That being said, so let's talk about a little bit more of this. We have games that are in the Colosseum, a little sillier. Okay, a lot sillier and then more ridiculous. Like Ridley Scott just said, well, shit, I don't really have much of a story here, so let me make it silly. There's nothing wrong with making it silly. But the thing is, really, besides Denzel Washington chewing up the scenery and Connie Nielsen being oh so lovely and trying here, there's not a lot of depth to any of these characters. The motivations just seemingly go all over the goddamn place. The narrative is a mess, yet also simplistic, yet also at times incomprehensibly stupid. And the more I think about how bad this movie is, and it's not all bad. There are parts that I really enjoyed. There are humorous parts. The first battle is actually pretty goddamn good. And there are moments where I'm like, okay, it's trying to invoke the original, and there's nothing wrong with that. The thing is a good sequel takes the proper stuff and goes off in a different direction while honoring that, and the bad sequel tunnels back in on the original, goes back to sleep. This doesn't just go back to sleep in the original. This basically just tries to put its larva in the original's corpse and then burst out like a very, very ugly butterfly. Ridley Scott really needs help, because I don't know what the fuck he was thinking here, because he has an eye for scope, but I can't name the last really good movie that he did, because it wasn't either of the Alien movies. Exodus, Gods and Kings wasn't all that good. The Robin Hood movie wasn't all that great. American Gangster would probably be his last great movie, and that was about 20 years ago. The man is in his 80s. And yeah, he can make as many movies as he wants. I mean, whatever. This movie's already made a fucking shitpot full of money across the goddamn pond, as it were, at like 80-something million. And good thing, too, because it cost a reported $250 to maybe a rumored $310 million, even if it was just $250. If that doesn't include marketing, then they got to really work hard here to get it back. And they better hope that they get it back in the next couple weeks with this and the Thanksgiving weekend, because I have a feeling this thing's going to fucking crater. Because I didn't like this. I did not really like this. I mean, there were parts that I thought were okay. There were parts that, to me, just, it felt forced. We're trying to, like, go back to the original, like, oh, let's explain some of this stuff, and this is what happened, and this is why things are the way they are. And there are just too many characters where it's like they're here for convenience. The villains are terrible. Every single villain is terrible. Every single person that, offers any betrayal, even the heroes are terrible. Like Paul Mescal, terrific actor, is not very good, as a character here. Just is not. And no emotional depth. That's like the biggest goddamn issue with this. No emotional depth. I didn't care who lived. I didn't care who died. And when it got to the end, I was like, that's it? And the precise moment this movie lost me? It was when he had his first dream sequence. And the dream sequence, I'm just going to say right now, reminded me of those Giorgio Armani ads. If you know the ones, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like the ones with Channing Tatum. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. What the fuck? So, yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers. I mean, spoilers will be all over the goddamn place like this review has been so far. It's going to be in theaters this weekend if you want to check it out. But again, if you've seen the first one, congratulations. You have seen the vastly superior movie. Just watch this. Watch it backwards. Watch a couple scenes. Write your own Gladiator sequel. It would be better than this. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I really like this. I'm starting to hate it more the more I talk about it. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, yeah, we start with like this invasion by, Pedro Pascal and his army. And they easily overtake, despite some resistance. They overtake. His wife gets killed. Lucius's wife gets killed. And he tries to rescue her body, but the Roman soldiers get him away. And then, hey, Macarinus, hi. He gets him into slavery, and he must fight and do this stuff, and it's just a beat-for-beat thing of the same goddamn movie. Now, the more I think about it, I think I'm going to change my grade for this goddamn thing. I think I might change my rating on Letterboxd, because I think I was too fucking kind to this. I wanted to like this, and I don't expect a movie to not have references to the original. You should try to carry the story forward. For 24 years, and for how much ever time has passed, I mean, it said 16-something years, they wanted to take the story this far. That's about how far they took the story. Lucilla sent Lucius away, basically, excuse me, because he wanted to make sure, or she wanted to make sure, that if he returned, that he could take the throne, I guess. So meanwhile, these two brother Nimrods take over. And yeah, the idea is they probably just got in by screwing over other people. But just, I'm sorry. I'm looking at these guys. These guys don't look like they, and not the actors, these guys don't look like they could get dressed on their own. They're just enjoying the fine, finer things in life. The games are terrible. We don't get very far into, the whole thing. It was a while before, Maximus got to Rome, back to Rome, and they did some good stuff and some good build and everything. It had life and energy and enthusiasm, and Oliver Reed's liver about to give out. And I do not get why in the world Ridley Scott decided to just continue to phone this in. Because after the opening battle and after a couple things, I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm down. We can follow some of this stuff. He wants to take the head of Pedro Pascal. Some just want head from Pedro Pascal. Some do. I'm not going to judge. But the thing that bugged me the most about this is when, Denzel Washington's like, oh, he's really good and he's my ticket in here, because basically the idea is Denzel Washington wants to take over Rome. He wants to become a leader of Rome because he knows the two leaders are not any goddamn good. They're not. There's a pet monkey in this as well, which is probably why I hated the movie more, because I hate primates. I hate them. I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but I hate monkeys. I don't like them. But nevertheless, these two brothers are idiots, but meanwhile, Denzel Washington is plotting, and scheming. Lucius wants nothing to do with Lucilla when eventually she realizes who he is. By the way, the first games thing, is taking place, or first thing, where we see Lucius and how great he is as a fighter is there's a bunch of angry baboons that get hit with darts and then they attack aggressively. And he ends up biting one's arm and then choking it out and ripping its head off. The blood doesn't register. The violence doesn't register. None of this stuff registers. It's terrible CGI on that too. Like, I'm not expecting them to put actual baboons in danger or monkeys, whatever, but my God, seriously? And then there was a line, with the guys that appreciate, how tough he is. I know this guy, he eats monkeys, and then they start making monkey noises and everything. Denzel, he was having a blast. The thing is, I think people overhyped his performance because I'm like, he's not really... He's trying here. He's really trying. And then there's another fight. There's a fight with a guy on a rhino. No, not gore, but a guy does get gored. They outsmart the rhino easily because it's a rhino and it's an idiot. And this one guy ends up getting beheaded at one point, which was kind of funny. The guy that was riding the rhino. Gross. And then Lucilla basically reveals that Maximus is his father. Sure, why the hell not? They basically just say Lucilla kept taking on many other men or whatever, and she was a little whore, as Stu Hart might say. So then they had this one guy, Dr. Ravi, Alexander Karam, who really does try. He's like supposed to be, the healer and this kind of stuff, and he talks about his wife and his children that we never see. We never get to see really any of this stuff. We're zeroed in on Lucius, who's just not an interesting character. He's just not. It just, for all the attempts to advance the story, it stagnated. And it started to die and rot quickly. It was rotting about halfway through. The precise moment that this movie totally lost me was the flooded Colosseum with the ships and the sharks. Where did they get the sharks? Where did they put the sharks afterwards? Where did they get the ships? You know what? I guess I'm probably thinking too much into it, but when Ridley Scott is trying to offer some kind of, semblance of emotional depth and whatever, and I'm seeing this shit, I'm like, I don't understand I don't get why any of this is good. I don't get it. I don't get why this is supposed to be entertaining, because it's not. And the effects in this were almost as bad as under Paris. Akakius, however the hell you want to say it. He basically is found out because he was trying to lead an army in to stop the emperors, because he said earlier to the emperors, I kind of want to go spend time with my wife, because he's with Lucilla. I mean, granted, I would want to spend every waking moment with Connie Nielsen too. Yes, maybe I will profess my love. Shut up. But he must take down Persia, and he must take down India. He must conquer everything, like he's Alexander the Great. But he's found out, and he's going to be put on trial. Well, he basically is put in the games against Lucius, and they fight. He shows him mercy, but then a bunch of archers do this arrow thing, just as archers are known to do, and basically arrow the fuck out of Akakius, which sounds like an acai smoothie deal. But then, and by the way, I do want to point out that if my voice ever does sound rough, guys, I've had times where it's like I've had illnesses that have affected my voice, so I apologize sometimes if I'm tired and certain things, come out. I apologize for that. That being said, now Lucius wants to get revenge. Meanwhile, Denzel Washington's rising up the goddamn ranks. He basically gets both brothers to end up getting in a fight after they had seen this fight between Lucius and him, quoting some stuff that Lucilla heard, that she realized, oh my God, it's my son, and he doesn't want anything to do with her, at least not yet. Then Denzel Washington, I'm just going to call him that because Denzel the Roman just sounds funnier. he basically, got the brothers to fight. He ends up stabbing one of them, like the one that was, I guess, the stronger of the two. And then he kills the other one with a pin in his ear. The one with the pet monkey. I don't know what happened to the pet monkey, and I don't really care. But Lucilla is going to be put on trial and put out there. And now we have one final showdown with this whole thing. We have these Roman, we have these Roman soldiers that are going to come down. They're going to trap Lucius in this, freaking circle. But just before that, he receives Marcus's ring that was handed to Maximus and now is handed to him from Lucilla. And now he's like, I lost my wife, and I lost you once, I'm not going to lose you, mother. Well, he does. He's not very good at his job, but he also hands the ring to Dr. Ravi and says, hey, take this and tell this general this stuff and tell him I'm Lucius. Who's he, what's he? Miguel Perez. There we go. Lucius Miguel Perez. He worked in the World Wrestling Council, and he also worked in the WWF. That's all I'm going to do for deep cuts. He ends up, getting the ring to the guy, and the idea is all these, soldiers are going to march down. Okay. Meanwhile, Lucius does not protect his mother because Denzel decides, I want to take over all this shit, and he does that. He does do some good scene chewing. Unfortunately, it's for naught because he's chewing through basically dry crackers as opposed to wet crackers. Very stale crackers, that's what I meant. Basically, Lucille's dead. Lucius basically follows Denzel out, and then they get in a fight. And I know Denzel is a near 70-year-old guy, and you can't really have him do some fighting, but they had terrible cuts where it was obviously stuntmen. And I'm like, Ridley, how much money did you have behind this goddamn thing? You couldn't have come up with better camera cuts? It looked like Dennis Rodman at points, subbing in for Denzel with the hair and everything. It was ridiculous. Or like Cisco. It looked like Cisco. And that Cisco kid was a friend of mine. I'm talking thong. That guy. Him. Anyway, so Denzel Washington gets slashed. His hand cut off, slashed, and he's dead. And then basically, Lucius has done the dirt thing a few times, pick up the sand, pick up the dirt, like Maximus did. And he gets the army of Rome and the army of Utopia. I forget the country's name, and I don't really care. And he gets them to stop. We're going to unite Rome because that worked out so well the first time. And, yeah, then he wants to hear from his father, so he gets dirt, and he has in his hand, speak to me, father. And then that's how the movie ends. That's how the fucking movie ends. Ridley Scott should be ashamed. Just watch the first Gladiator. Just watch it. I am more pissed off the more I think about this goddamn thing, because it wasn't good. You know what? I originally was going to give it about a C+. F. It gets an F. The more I think about it, the more pissed off I get, the more disappointed I am. F. So yeah, I don't fucking care who knows it. That's my opinion right there. Is the first one perfect? No, there are issues. But God, it had so much life, energy, and scope. This was just bad. For any of the good stuff, it gets stamped out immediately. And the Giorgio Armani dream sequences. What the fuck? So yeah, F. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.